Hey, it's Casey.
And Lauren.
And this is...
Magnum B.I, the podcast where we dive deep into a new topic each week.
Per usual, we're going to add a little bit of comedy, a little bit of banter, and...
We're back!
We're back, baby!
Oh my god. It's been like 3 months.
Yeah.
Actually,
it was like the end of November.
Oh my god, yeah. And it's mid-January?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's not cute.
I'm really glad we're back, though.
Yeah. Oh my god. Y'all, you would not believe the shit we've gone through to try and record this fucking episode.
Blame it on the microphones.
I know. And, I know that the cliche is always technology error instead of operator error, but I'm gonna say it. It was technology.
I'm gonna blame it. I'll be a boomer. It was technology. 100%.
Okay, so here's what happened, in case any of you were wondering.
Me writing a letter to my professor why my paper was 3 days late.
I was depressed.
Yeah.
But no, for real. What happened was I edited the audio for the most recent episode, and the microphones that Casey and I have been using, we had been able to plug them into our phones, which, as you will know if you've listened to our Anchor ad, is not actually the easiest way to record a podcast.
Hardly.
And the audio was clipping. It was just a mess. And so I had spliced together all of the usable portions of the audio that we had left. And when I uploaded it to Spotify, something went horribly wrong, and it deleted half of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled the entire thing off the air, and we took a brief hiatus to figure out our audio setup. But we're back.
We're back. Winter break is over. We have borderline functioning audio equipment.
I hope it sounds better.
I think it does.
I think it does.
And I want to give full, entire credit to Lauren for figuring all of this out. Our resident audio engineer.
What can I say? I have no hobbies.
No, you're doing so well.
Thank you.
If you put this stuff in front of me, I think I would just, throw it out a window. So I give you so much credit for actually figuring all this out.
I did.
Thank you.
I did have to call my dad for help at one point, and we were messing around with the equipment that came in the fancy little box that my microphone came in for a hot second. And I just want to give a major thank you to Brian for helping me, even though all I had to do was read the instructions, which I decided I didn't want to do. So thank you for being very patient with me. And we're going to talk about anorexia.
What a transition.
Aren't you so excited to be back?
I can't wait.
So, okay. Major mood shift. This is going to be a bit of a heavy episode.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to take a moment before we get into all the banter, the gaffes, the giggles that we're probably going to have, and say, if you or a loved one is suffering from an eating disorder or any kind of disordered eating behaviors, we will be linking resources in the description of this episode for you to use if you so desire.
Mm-hmm.
And we love you. And if this episode is a bit too heavy for you, we understand. Come back next week.
Please. Yeah, and we'll be here
Mm-hmm.
to talk about AIDS.
Yeah, so if this isn't enough for you, next week surely will be. Yeah. So we're going to... Want to get into it?
I say we get into it.
All right, let's do it. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, popular culture in America exists as a homogenized stew of different attitudes, opinions, and conceptions. As is the case with most westernized societies, fashion operates as a sort of barometer for the societal standards of each era. For the conservative 50s, a housewife wore an immaculate dress, apron, and coiffed hair, embracing the decorative femininity of post-war America. For the free love era of the 70s, fashion had no rules and rebelled against the oppressive dress of the previous generations. And in the 90s and 2000s, excess was in vogue.
Ooh.
Beginning with the Reagan administration, the American economic machine experienced its lowest rates of unemployment in recorded history, with numbers leveling out at 4% unemployment during the Clinton presidency in the year 2000. This time of unprecedented economic growth, due in part to the sanctions placed during the Reaganomics era, boo hiss, allowed for capitalism to expand in ways never before believed possible. Monopolies formed, profits boomed, and many of the mega corporation conglomerates we've become accustomed to sank their teeth into the jugular of the American economy and never let go. In such a time of economic growth and excess, fashion took a rather disturbing and extreme turn in the opposite direction. In 1990, American media began ramping up its newest ideal for female beauty. In the 90s and early 2000s, this was characterized by two very distinct forms of streetwear and subsequent red carpet fashion, the first of which was dubbed heroin chic. Piggybacking off of the rampant cocaine usage that rocked the United States during the 80s, heroin chic exemplified the new nihilistic view of fashion that coincided with the American grunge movement. While the 80s had been characterized by vibrant, tan, disco-esque models, the 90s became home to a new, cynical view of the world, due in part to the end of the free love era and the beginning of the AIDS epidemic.
Ooh, I fucking love that. I don't love that. I think stuff like that is, like, how fashion and, like, attitudes and stuff reflect what's going on in the world in really subtle ways. It is so cool.
I love sociology.
Oh, God.
And it's also so cool, like, I don't know, I feel like, at least in my brain, you know, I feel like fashion is, like, put down by a lot of people because it's, like, this vapid, girly thing. But it's, like, I don't know, if you took a second to think about it a little longer, you'd realize that it was kind of a barometer for everything that's gone on in the past, like, however many years of recorded history there have been.
Yeah, it is. It always is. Like, it moves with the times so much.
It's a sleigh.
And I think it's interesting, too, because I don't know if you can realize it when you're in the middle of an era.
No.
But then when you get out of, like, now we can look back at the 90s and be like, okay, this was because free love was ending, and this was because AIDS was rampant. But, like, in the 90s, I'm sure they weren't conscious of that, you know?
Oh, no. I don't think anyone with ripped jeans was like, this is because of AIDS.
No. I guarantee.
But were they ripped? Absolutely. Did they look great? Absolutely. Were there AIDS? Also true, unfortunately.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, where was I? Okay. Due to the fear inspired by blood-borne transmission of the HIV virus, needle usage of heroin decreased dramatically, leading to users snorting the drug instead of shooting up. This meant that heroin became much more highly accessible to the masses and sat itself under the spotlight of American pop culture in new and horrifying ways. The term heroin chic was legitimately coined as a phrase which exemplified and glamorized, and this is a direct quote from Wikipedia, pale skin, dark circles underneath the eyes, emaciated features, androgyny, and stringy hair, all traits associated with abuse of heroin or other drugs. I find it interesting that androgyny is a heroin thing.
Yeah.
But
that didn't strike me until you said that, but yeah.
I was reading that and I was like, I don't know, guys.
Hey, you know, I shut up and suddenly I don't know.
Gender isn't real.
Gender isn't real. Yeah.
These downers are onto something.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep. But,
well, it's probably, sorry. I'm so sorry. It's probably more, I just thought about it. It's probably more like, because women who are taking heroin are becoming, like, super thin and boyish. Kind of how, like, androgyny in the 20s was big because the ideal body type was to be, like, a board. Like a wooden board.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No curves.
Yeah.
Much to consider.
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. That's actually a really good point. So, heroin chic lasted for approximately 5 years, controlling mainstream fashion from 1991 to 1996. The main players in this era were the model Kate Moss and the photographer David Sorrenti. And I gave Casey a little picture here that I would like him to describe for our listeners on the air. Okay,
this is Kate Moss, which I know because Lauren hyperlinked it to text that said Kate Moss. I don't think I would have known otherwise.
Yep.
It's a Calvin Klein ad.
Yep.
She's wearing a black tank top and
Mhm.
black underwear with her
Mhm.
midriff showing.
Mhm.
And she's very thin. I wouldn't say like very thin, but she's thin
Mhm.
and has like no curves, and her face is like sunken,
Mhm.
and she has very dark eyeliner.
Mhm.
And it's in black and white.
Yes, exactly. So very much that entire androgyny, skinny,
Yeah.
90s grunge aesthetic.
And she's also not posing like elegantly. Like she's like leaning. It's very hard to describe what position she's in, but it's like not like a glamour shot.
Would you say it's punk?
It's punk.
It's punk.
Are your kids turning punk?
Look for these telltale signs. Heroin.
Do they have Kate Moss on their bedroom walls?
Your child may be at risk for developing
Androgyny.
androgyny. Say goodbye to your gender. Okay, this is not funny. However, the movement itself would come to an abrupt halt after the death of the photographer David Sorrenti in 1997, which was caused by, of course, a heroin overdose.
Yeah.
So, in response to this drab, monochromatic dullness of the heroin chic era, Y2K fashion was characterized by sequins, leopard print, plaid, neon colors, clashing prints, sandals, and thongs. A gaudy, in-your-face nightmare that screamed for attention while saying absolutely nothing at the same time. It's a sleigh.
It's a sleigh.
So, we of course have a couple more images here for Casey to describe for the audience.
Let's do it.
And I love these pictures in particular because I remember the first one specifically of Ashley Tisdale when I was younger. And it was like, I think now they're calling it Disney Channel chic. But at the time, I remember seeing this like picture of her and thinking she was the coolest, most beautiful woman in the world.
Let me look.
So.
Oh yeah, that's peak fashion right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like distinctly remember being a child and seeing Disney Channel and being like, to my grandmother, being like, the fashion is like put on everything you own.
Yeah.
Like it's accessories.
Yeah.
And now I look back and I'm like, it's vomit.
It is. It's wardrobe vomit.
Ashley, do you want me to describe this?
Oh, please.
Sorry, I'm clearing my throat. I just drank a lot of the wine that Lauren's mom so kindly bought us.
Thanks for the Gertsch demeanor.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, Ashley Tisdale. We'll start at the top. She has a middle part.
Yeah, she does.
And like curtain bangs, but like not really curtain bangs. She has like a white pink button-up blazer. And like a really chunky sequined bag.
Yep.
And like a crossbody fur.
Fur wrap.
Wrap. Also like no makeup.
None.
And
because that would be too much.
That's
too
she's
much.
She's not a slut. Just a classy woman.
She's classy.
And a pink camo miniskirt with a loose yellow belt and white go-go boots with bows on them.
Yes. And she is where?
On a red carpet. And there are like 3 people in the background in black turtlenecks and jeans, full Steve Jobs, just like looking at her.
Yep. And she is the it girl. She is everything.
She is the moment.
She is the moment. And she wasn't the only Y2K fashionista. I just think she's one of the more memorable ones, obviously because she's a legend.
Yeah.
And a couple others that I also really enjoyed were Christina Aguilera, who had probably the best hair.
Oh my god. I just clicked on it.
Go on.
Okay. First of all, the hair.
Yep.
Like, okay, I thought they were box braids for a sec, but they're not. They're like, it's like a feathered gray, very straight, stick straight. Black under eye eyeliner, but otherwise very little makeup.
Yep.
White, like, turban meets baseball cap.
Sideways. She's wearing it sideways.
Yeah. A denim mini skirt.
Yeah.
Denim underwear, essentially.
Yeah.
A bra, which I would not even really call a bra.
Mm-hmm.
That's like crossbody.
I would argue it's a scarf tied around her boobs.
Hoisting up her boobs, which look great.
Oh, yeah.
Really low midriff.
Mm-hmm.
A cross biker chain hanging from her. French tipped nails, but the French tip is black.
Uh-huh.
And black leather mid-thigh heels. Mid-calf heels.
On the red carpet.
On the red carpet. At the VMAs.
At the VMAs.
At the 2002 Video Music Awards.
Yes, ma'am. Because she is what? The moment.
Yeah.
She is the moment.
Thank you.
And then, of course, I would argue probably the most famous and recognizable Y2K fashionista, Paris Hilton.
Miss Hilton. Oh, boy. We got the same hat happening.
Yeah,
only
we
this
do.
One's red. What do you call that hat? What is that?
I want to say it's like a cross between like a pageboy cap and like some weird early 2000s like I think I don't know. It's like they tried to elevate a baseball cap because they wanted to steal the whole like street cred from hip hop artists, but they just did something horribly wrong.
Well, that's actually a really interesting point because it's like they tried to steal this because at the same time, like urban.
Yes, that was a
big
big one back
big.
then. Urban,
but like that coupled with a pageboy hat because it does look like a pageboy hat. So it's like classic elegance meets like
I want to be black.
I'm a white girl in the hood.
Yeah, exactly,
like,
exactly.
Okay, Paris Hilton is wearing one of those.
Yes,
but
she
it's
is.
red.
Cherry red.
She has like no makeup on.
None.
Whatsoever. She's very thin.
Slang.
So was Christina Aguilera. I didn't mention that.
Mm-hmm.
She's wearing a like a crew neck t-shirt, only one shoulder is missing.
Yep.
Off the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
She's wearing very low cut, skinny blue jeans, showing a midriff.
Mm-hmm.
They have fishnets at the top.
Yep.
Just believe me here, audience.
They're holding on for dear life.
I don't feel good about it either. But they're also, wait for it.
Yep.
Bell bottoms.
Yeah, they are.
She's holding a wine glass.
Yep.
And a checkered print, like Harley Quinn purse. And leather chunky boots. And this, dear listeners, she's not on a red carpet. However, she is a swanky cocktail lounge.
Yes, she is.
Sir.
I wish that I could capture the expressions that
in a dog tag.
Right
and a
yes,
dog tag.
you almost forgot the dog tag.
Dog tag around her neck. Sorry.
The faces that he's making right now are incredible.
I was zooming in on the picture
like,
and
what
going
is that?
down like article of clothing by article, and nothing was as I was expecting it to be.
It was like a jump scare.
It really was. It's like a choose your own adventure.
Except you reach the midriff and you're like, clearly these wouldn't be bell bottoms, and they are.
Bell bottoms.
Well, thanks for playing, Casey.
I loved that. There are more to look forward to.
Oh, yes, of course. So, I need to collect myself. Hold on. Well, these outfits begged the viewer to take everything in, to get an eyeful, if you could stand to look long enough. The most eye-catching accessory for each of these women wasn't the bling, or the layers of lace and plaid, or some perfunctory term for urban.
Yeah.
It was their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would argue. And this is kind of a trend on TikTok now, or at least it was, I would say maybe a month ago, of these women who would take a look at videos posted by these quote-unquote fashion TikTokers and be like, is this a great outfit or is this person just really thin?
Oh.
And I think a lot of that is reflected in this Y2K fashion, where it's like, if a fuller figured person was wearing these clothes, they would look fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But because, like, the entire point of this outfit is to just, like, ogle these women's bodies, we love it. We eat that shit up.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about, I can't lie.
Yeah, because in, like, the purely heroin chic 90s, like, when we saw Kate Moss, she's not wearing an outfit.
No,
like,
she's not wearing
like,
a thing.
black underwear, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, the point, they're never trying to claim that it's about the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think here they're like, oh, this is about the clothes. But, like, the real message that they're sending is, like, I'm really, really thin.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Which, like, that's really... We're gonna like make that more problematic later on. I know that doesn't sound great off the bat, but yeah, okay.
We're gonna unpack
on.
that a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all of these fashion icons had in common a very, very similar body type. Bleach blonde, tanned, slim, to the point where like all their abs seem effortless and their ribs are visible from every angle.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, American pop culture was revving up its engines for a new era of rampant consumerism. As the teen demographic of the budding middle class became a larger portion of their consumer base, teen-based media began its meteoric rise. Is that the term? Yeah, meteoric rise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the kids who were born during that prosperous 90s that you were talking about are now the kids who are watching... i.e. us, are the kids who are watching these Disney Channel stars.
Consuming the Y2K era.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, go on.
So, girly gossip mags and tabloids reached their peak in popularity during the 90s, with the daily lives of celebs plastered onto every page. At the same time, the internet became a new place for gossip lovers to get their daily dose, and personal blogs became the new way to gather info in a quick, easily accessible manner. Personalities like Perez Hilton made it their mission to popularize, big words today, popularize salacious celebrity gossip. Who was sleeping with who had committed this week's fashion faux pas, and who had turned from Hollywood darling into fat, bloated land whale. That was like a big thing that they discussed all the time, like women's bodies constantly. Like, I think it was... Jessica Simpson, maybe, that got fat shamed, and she was like maybe a size 7.
Like,
if on. That, it was brutal out there.
That's so messed up.
It really is.
And I know this isn't like the media per se, but I remember a family friend when I was young. They went to see a Britney Spears concert. Did I tell you this story?
You did. Go on.
Okay, I'll tell it for the pod though.
Yep.
They went to see a Britney Spears concert, and they had binoculars because they were so far away, and they like zoomed in to look at her. And they were like, their one takeaway from the concert was that Britney Spears gained weight.
Holy fuck.
And it's like, A, she's a teenager.
Yeah. She was like, what, 19?
Yeah. Ugh. B, she's like a professional singer. And your one takeaway is that she like put on some weight.
That's awful.
And also, I guarantee like put on some weight is still like so much thinner than the general American public.
Yeah. She was probably like a size 4.
Yeah.
And they were like, ew.
Yeah.
Which is just so crazy.
Yeah.
But, all this to say, controversy was the name of the game. Magazines sold in droves, and young women consuming this constant stream of media began absorbing the content like a Sunday morning gospel. Groups began to form across multiple online platforms, idolizing the celebrities the girls looked up to. In this new, homogenized version of American culture, no one wanted to dress like a cutout from a Sears catalog. Young women wanted to look like their favorite celebrities, from the clothes they wore down to the body type required to make these horrific outfits look chic. In response to this stream of content which vilified women over a size 2, support groups for young girls began to form online in places like MySpace and LiveJournal, focusing on the willpower and lifestyle required to first get and then maintain a figure like the celebrities on the red carpet. These groups took on a new name and began posting advice, supportive messages, and inspirational images of the bodies and celebrities the members hoped to emulate. This, of course, was the birth of the pro-Anna movement.
Yeah.
And I'm like almost 99% sure that this is a fact, but if it's not, I will cut it out later. At this time, Paris Hilton was doing a shitload of cocaine.
I'm sure, yeah.
So, I think we just want to set the stage here and say that, first of all, many of these women's bodies, like, outside of the realm of, like, exorbitant amount of drugs and personal training and calorie restriction and excessive exercising and having a personal trainer was simply not attainable for these young girls. So the means by which a lot of these young women decided to pursue this quote-unquote attainable lifestyle is not necessarily very healthy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And also just, like, literal genetic body type.
Yes.
Like, Paris Hilton might be in a... Well, no, not even. Like, I don't think Paris Hilton would have, like, reached the level of, like, public attention that she had gotten, even though she came from a rich family, if she was born to be someone who was just, like, more naturally fat.
Yes.
Or heavier set. Or
Yes.
not as tall.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
or had narrower hip bones, or, you know, didn't have as long of a torso, or wasn't as tall.
Yeah.
There's just so many factors at play aside from just, like, weight gain.
Exactly.
Which...
And even if they were, like, extremely talented singers, but they, like, didn't have the genetically ideal body type, or weren't white, honestly,
yeah,
they probably wouldn't have even reached that level of success. So it's like you're still picking and choosing who gets to be put in those spots that are going to be idolized.
Very much so. It's because we live in a society.
If there's one thing I know,
it's that we live in a society.
Say it again.
So, pro-ana, for our listeners who may not know, is a term combining the phrases pro as in supporting or for, and anorexia nervosa, the eating disorder characterized by body dysmorphia, a fear of gaining weight, excessive exercising, and or binging and purging behaviors. The real danger surrounding these pro-ana communities was that they disguised themselves as this sustainable lifestyle group and hid the habits that were much more dangerous behind this guise of striving for a trendy, healthier, sustainable way of living, which is so insidious, right? Because it's like, oh, if you only eat like 500 calories a day, which is at the literal caloric threshold for starvation, you'll be skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't say you'll die, but you'll be skinny,
mm-hmm.
which is awful.
And then to pitch that as like this is for health.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't for aesthetics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely not. No, it's not for aesthetics at all. So a lot of the media shared within these groups fell under the category of something called thin-spiration, which included quotes, message boards, and pictures of these extremely emaciated women as encouragement for the users to restrict their caloric intake to extremely dangerous levels. And I was very lucky in that I wasn't exposed to a lot of this content firsthand. I, as we're going to see a little later on in the script, I did some, research on the ground, digging around in an old LiveJournal account to get an idea of what a pro-ana blog would look like back in the day. But I do remember these phrases because they kind of bled into popular culture and into everyday life. These were just things that people would say. Some of these phrases included, and, if you want to skip this, skip 30 seconds and come back to it because these are nasty. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. Mm-hmm. A moment on the lips, forever on the hips. And an imperfect body reflects an imperfect person, mm-hmm. which is so evil.
That's so fucked up.
It's so bad.
That is so fucked up.
I can't even imagine being 12 and reading that for the first time and having that wiggle its way into my brain and never leave.
How awful is that?
Mm-hmm. It's so evil.
Yeah, that is so. And also the one of the first two mm-hmm. that you said,
Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Yeah, mm-hmm. yeah. I think maybe that one was popularized by not a pro-ana necessarily person. Mm-hmm. I would have to look into this, but I've heard about this. It was a famous model from the early 90s who started saying that.
Yeah.
It wasn't some person on the internet who was mm-hmm. part of pro-ana culture. Mm-hmm. And then pro-ana culture co-opted that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's something that they love to do. They'll take an image of a celebrity, not necessarily part of the movement per se, and be oh, look at this person, mm-hmm. which we'll see a little later on in the script as well.
Yeah.
So most of these inspirational quotes, and big air quotes over that one, attacked various parts of the members' bodies and in turn their self-esteem, dragging the other women in these social circles down as the pro-ana lifestyle latched onto them. These groups were, I would say, an eating disorder echo chamber. Mm-hmm. It was just, it's exactly the kind of content you would see on a right-wing message board, where it's just constantly encouraging people to like perpetuate their own bad behaviors. And if you're surrounded by this media day in, day out constantly, you're actively brainwashing yourself into believing it, regardless of how true any of this may be, objectively or not.
Yeah.
So, as a kid, I was aware of the pro-Ana movement in a very peripheral way, like I mentioned previously. I was always on the chubbier side growing up, and as a result, none of the clothes that were cute or trendy ever looked right on me. I was always trying to squeeze myself into things that felt too tight or didn't flatter my body or even necessarily fit. However, as uncomfortable as those experiences may be, and I'm sure were universal for a lot of people growing up, regardless of gender or gender expression, this doesn't even begin to come close to the reality that many teenagers faced in this battle on a near constant basis. So, to get a better perspective from my research, I visited an archived LiveJournal account which had posts from 2008 by a user named Cheyenne Loves You. And this blog was fucking spooky.
I just want to say also, going to a 2008 LiveJournal account is like the most haunted thing I've ever heard. Like, that is so scary.
I'm like on the ground doing my journalism in the foxholes of Nam.
Yeah.
I am in there. So it was, oh God, that shit was spooky. I don't know how else to put it. Imagine the most harrowing, off-putting, unsettling like words concerning body image, body dysmorphia, and eating disorders you could possibly think of. And then picture it on a glittery pink background.
Oh, that is so spooky.
With purple text and little stickers and all these cutesy little things, which I'm sure appealed to the user Cheyenne at the time that they were creating this blog, but was also just completely innocuous with content curated specifically for young girls.
Yeah.
It's like glitter-coated rat poison.
Oh my God, yeah.
It just draws you right in and you're like, I just can't eat. What's the big deal?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so pervasive. It was fucking scary.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the blog consisted of inspiration quotes along with other pro-Ana lifestyle posts, like what your zodiac sign should do to lose weight quick, or mantras which waxed like near religious, damning the existence of like the human body as a whole, and begging for a release from a reality which tortured the like pro-Ana member with this ever-present fear of gaining weight.
That makes me so sad.
I cannot even imagine the turmoil that this girl was going through at her age.
That makes me so sad.
Like, I hope she's okay, because I cannot imagine what she was going through.
Yeah, I really hope she's okay, like, now.
Me too.
I really, really hope so.
Me too, because it's fucking scary.
And that's like, I mean, I think it's obvious throughout this, but neither of us are saying that, like, the pro-Ana bloggers are the villains here, because the pro-Ana bloggers and the people involved in that movement, it's not like there's someone from the outside who's like pressuring all these young girls to get skinny. It's like they are young girls themselves who have eating disorders.
They are victims just as much as those preachers on the pulpit.
Yes, exactly.
It is such an insidious thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of why I wanted to cover it. It's just, not that there's not a lot of discussion surrounding the pro-Ana movement as a whole. I just think that not a lot of people realize how intertwined a lot of it was with our childhoods growing up. Yeah. Especially because a lot of the people that experienced it are our age. Or like slightly older. Those conversations haven't even been had yet. So...
Well, I mean, that girl, that blog was 2006, you said?
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
So, like, if she was, like, 12... I mean, she'd be, what, like, not even 30 right now?
Yeah.
That could be so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do math. But,
yeah.
like, you know, like, she's,
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, if our primary source is from a little less than 20 years ago, this is still fresh.
Yeah.
Shit's crazy.
Yeah.
So, while MySpace and LiveJournal were some of the more popular players in this group, I guess we'll call it, there were other key players that were involved. One of which being Tumblr.
Mm-hmm.
And Tumblr kind of rose to prominence as MySpace and LiveJournal became outdated, and the pro-Anna communities migrated over to the newest personal blogging website, On the Market. And I was not super involved on Tumblr when I was younger. I just didn't really ever get into it, but Casey did.
Yeah, you're lucky.
I dodged a bullet.
You sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I say that jokingly because Tumblr was, like, so formative. I'll definitely do an episode on Tumblr at some point. It was, like, so formative
You
for
should.
me. But I did avoid pro-Anna stuff just because even at that age, and I've never struggled with, like, really severe body image things or anything, but even at that age, I was just like, this doesn't make me feel good. Like, this feels really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But it was there.
Mm-hmm.
It was totally there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like that blog you talked about, that LiveJournal blog. It was like a cute, like hipster, like boho chic photo of someone with, like, a crazy thigh gap.
Yes.
And like trigger warning, sorry, this may be fucked up, but, like, cuts on the wrist. Like, someone who, like, clearly is not doing well, you know, but, like, coded as, like, this is aesthetic.
Yeah, that was the big thing, too. Aesthetic blogging.
Yeah,
like
that's what I did.
Yeah, exactly. Like, these mood boards of, like, oh, this is a goth aesthetic, and it's, like, a raven, and this really, really thin girl, and also blood and self-harm.
Yeah.
And back in 12, the internet was so much more unmoderated than it is nowadays.
Yeah.
And you could just post whatever the fuck you wanted on the front page of the internet, and it would stay there. Like, you could, like, I remember, and I'll probably do an entire separate episode on this, but did you ever watch Live Leak videos?
Oh my god. Like, one time, and they still live with me.
Oh, yeah. I can still see...
I forgot about that.
I can still see this one video... Did you ever watch One Guy, One Glass Jar?
Yeah!
Yup! That one will never leave my brain.
Yeah.
And I was like 14.
Oh, I'm, like, crossing my legs so hard right now.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you're
Don't
good. You're good.
Don't look at it.
We were children also when we saw that.
It was sent to me by another child. It was like a rite of passage. It was like, look at this unbelievably fucked up piece of media. And then you're like, okay, now we can giggle about it. And it's like, no, bitch, I didn't sleep. I was traumatized. Yeah. So, I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh, I wanted to circle back a tiny bit. I think that where was I going with this? I think a large part... I'm gonna need to cut this out.
It'll come to you.
It's almost there. It's formulating. I think that as children, we were both kind of able to avoid a lot of this pro-Anna stuff because we were very fortunate to be raised in environments where we were given this very strong sense of self-confidence and self-realization.
Yeah.
I think if I'd grown up in a household where I was constantly belittled about my appearance and bullied from a very young age, I would have taken to that content like a fly on a piece of cotton candy.
100%.
And I would have been obsessed with it because if you are in a situation where, like, I'm just going to use this as an example, please don't come for me, if, like, your body is constantly on display, like you're a child pageant star, or you're a dancer, or you're a cheerleader, where your body is a commodity and your appearance dictates how well you do in your entire life, that is your world. So obviously, you're going to want to cling to that for as long as humanly possible, and this content can be very attractive to those kinds of people.
Yeah, well, and as we said, especially when it's, like, put in pretty pastel pink font and, like, posted to these blogs that are curating a mood board.
And all the girls are doing it, and your friends are doing it, and everyone is so much skinnier than you, and everyone on TV is so much skinnier than you, and you're constantly surrounded by all of these beautiful, perfect, skinny people. I think I narrowly missed it. I'm going to be very honest.
Yeah, I think because, like, obviously I wasn't going to be affected by it in the same way necessarily because I'm a man and grew up a boy, obviously. But, like, I think you are very lucky, and that's, like, a testament to, like, your, like, enduring sense of confidence that you like didn't fall victim to that.
Don't suck my dick on the live.
I can't help it.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, no, but legit, because that would be so easy. You know, that would be so easy. Because there was so much shit on Tumblr. This is aside, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But there was so much shit on Tumblr, too, that was, like, the same kind of thing where it was, like, aesthetically pleasing,
Mm-hmm.
but it was, like, suicide.
Yes!
So, there was. So, and that I also avoided that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was a kid who, like, had thought about killing myself or
Mm-hmm.
was really, really, really severely depressed,
Mm-hmm.
I, like, so easily could have fallen down that, too. So,
Absolutely.
it's just communities of people who are struggling. And then they, like you said, it's an echo chamber of that struggle.
Maybe this is less so a movement that's actively trying to recruit members, and it's more a black hole.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
And it's just sucking people in peripherally because of all the misery that it's created in and of itself.
Yeah. Because there isn't, like, a central force. There isn't, like, a key, well, I mean, there isn't really, like, a key figure in this.
Yeah, there's not a cult leader.
There's not a cult leader.
Yeah.
There's no one, like, monetizing off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're recruiting people. I think it's just people, like, making each other feel better through community.
Mm-hmm.
But then also promoting each other's behavior.
I absolutely agree. So, to bring it back to what we were originally talking about, Y2K fashion and the pro-Ana movement. The repercussions of Y2K fashion were still salient in the later 2010s, a factor which undoubtedly acted as a driving force behind the newest trend, which is still going on today, and I would say I am a big fan of, is the body positivity / body acceptance movement.
Mm-hmm.
So, beginning in 2012, the body positivity movement began with the fat acceptance movement of the 1960s, but the 2012 version kind of co-opted a lot of the terminology from the 1960s version and modernized it and brought it to Instagram and was like, hey, let's try this again. Like, respectfully, fuck heroin chic, and let's just allow ourselves to exist.
Yeah.
Why not try that?
Yeah.
So, focusing in on the unattainable standards originally set by the beauty industry, the body positivity movement provided people of all shapes and sizes with a new lens through which they could view themselves. Body positivity opened the door for many millennials in particular to abandon the skinny jeans and crash diets that had bullied them into submission throughout their teens and 20s, and allowed many of them to escape the crushing weight of 2000s diet culture to staggering results. I almost made it through that whole thing.
You got it, though. At the end, you really flipped it around. 2000s diet culture, 2000s diet culture, 2000s diet culture.
The crushing... Wait, how about bully them into submission?
Oh, I can say that 20 times fast.
Shut the fuck up. Anyways, models like Ashley Graham and Tess Holliday were awarded modeling contracts and paved the way for fuller-figured women to walk the runways and red carpets.
Mm-hmm.
The body positivity movement opened the door for other branches of self-acceptance movements to flourish, leading to the body acceptance movement and body neutrality movements.
Yeah.
And
which I think is...
I would say it's better.
Ideal. Yeah.
Yeah. Because body positivity is, I'm going to accept every part of my body, regardless of the flaws, regardless of, any negatives that may exist with the positives. Like, for example, let's say you are dealing with, I don't know, help me out here. What are we dealing with?
You hate your feet.
I hate my feet. Body neutrality says you don't necessarily have to love your feet, but they're a part of you. So you should just accept that they exist and be thankful that they get you from place to place and kind of let it go. Mm-hmm. It's like a very zen way to look at your own body and just kind of like accept it for the way it is and be like, yeah, we're chilling.
So rather than forcing yourself to be like, I love every part of me, it's like a more realistic approach that's like, okay, like, I mean, I don't feel great about myself all the time, but like, I'm just a bag of meat.
Yes.
Getting my consciousness through the world.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think there's also a conversation to be had about the whole like social media toxic positivity thing and how people will curate certain aspects of themselves or their content to push a narrative that may not necessarily be true. But I think that it's probably just better to make peace with things instead of forcing yourself to love something you realistically can't.
Yeah. It's like very sincere.
Yeah.
It's like very, very sincere.
Which I think is what drew me to it. Like, I don't know, as someone who, as we've discussed, has had issues with their body in the past. So, I don't know, I'm pro body neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should just accept our meat sacks and move on.
High five.
Vibe.
High five. It is just a literal meat sack.
It is.
And, like, they can do incredible things.
Yeah.
And, like, yes, it will affect, likely, how you, like, feel about yourself a lot, some of the time, a lot of the time, you know? But it is just a bag of freaking bones.
Absolutely.
And that's not at all to, like, disparage someone who, like, does have disordered eating or, like,
Absolutely.
you know, does have really pervasive body image problems. Like, that's, you know, but it is to say that, like, there's a Zen approach to this, but in theory, you know?
There is a path forward, ideally.
Yeah.
And, you know, we are kind of reaching a point in the swing of the proverbial fashion pendulum where things are kind of starting to swing in the opposite direction. Yeah. The Kardashians have reversed their BBLs.
That is insane to me.
Yep. They've done that, and low-rise jeans are coming back into fashion, much to the chagrin of every millennial.
That is also insane to me, yeah, in a different way.
Yes, exactly. But I think to kind of cap off this episode, my closing thoughts are just kind of try and find your peace. Because trends are going to go one way and trends are going to go the other, and your body should not fluctuate depending on what kind of jeans are in vogue.
Yeah.
You should just try and find peace, and I hope that the pro-Anna girlies that were dealing with all the shit they dealt with in the early 2000s and 2010s have found some peace as well.
Me too. I hope that girl who wrote that journal, among other people, I hope you are all okay.
Yeah, amen.
I hope you found some peace. And yeah, I mean, that pendulum is a really important thing to acknowledge, because just as the Kardashians got rid of their BBLs, which means likely, like, skinniness could be coming back.
Yeah.
They also got BBLs.
Yeah.
Which means that for a period, like, having an ass was really in.
Yeah.
So, like, we all just live in freaking meat sacks, bro. And again, I'm not saying that to, like, minimize anyone who has body image problems, but, like, we do just live in meat sacks. And the way that they are, like, influenced by the fashion of the time is crazy.
It cannot be understated.
Love yourself.
Yeah, just simply stop being sad. You're so sexy.
No, don't be so
You're so hot.
Me as a social worker.
No! But I think that's about all I have for you. Aside from our little listener write-ins, that's about all there is.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that pro-Anna is something that I have religiously avoided since I was young because of Tumblr and because even back then it made me feel weird.
Amen.
So it's cool to take a deep dive, and I really appreciate a lot of, like, the cultural points that you brought up, because that's really, really interesting.
Thank you. I agree. I thought it was worth a discussion.
I liked it.
Thank you. All right. So we've got a couple listener write-ins.
We do?
Yes, we do. Would you like to read them, Casey?
Sure.
So
I don't know how.
Okay, well, let's begin. I posted a poll on the @Magnum B.I pod Instagram, asking our lovely, lovely little Instagram followers if they have ever been personally affected by diet culture. And the overwhelming response was yes. I would say, obviously.
Well, that's pretty much everybody.
Yeah. So, all this to say, I included a follow-up question on the Instagram, which said something to the effect of, if you feel like you've been affected by diet culture, would you feel comfortable sharing something that you feel did affect you? Yeah. And so we have a couple people that wrote in, and we're going to share their takes and see what they've got and see if there's anything to discuss.
Yes. Well, I'll start with, I'm going to read 3 in sequence because I think there's a commonality that we can notice.
Okay.
But one person said, Mommy and America's Next Top Model as a child.
Ooh.
One person said, the internet, my mom, grocery stores, bookstores with diet books, skinny friends, everything. And one person said, my mom, magazines, YouTubers, TV, and movies.
Ooh.
What was the common thread?
Mama.
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 Mama, give me a shoe, mommy.
Not that.
I don't know why I said that. But no, I think that's really interesting, you know?
There is a lot to be said about, I think, mothers from Gen X specifically that lived through the brunt of the Y2K heroin chic diet culture extreme nightmare in the midst of raising children.
Yeah.
There's bound to be plenty of psychological studies done on all of them and that thing in particular in the future.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Much to consider.
Much to consider. And America's Next Top Model, too.
Yeah, fuck them.
Fuck them. Our other friend said society's idolization of Bella Hadid, which, yes.
Absolutely.
And also, going full circle, I don't know if you've seen the clips from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Why would I have seen that?
Got it. Bella Hadid's...
Sorry.
Bella Hadid's mom was a Real was a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills. And... that's, you know, where the one almond, like, you get one almond. That was on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
You're kidding. She
said to Gigi and Bella Hadid, she was like, if you're hungry, have an almond and eat it really slowly.
Oh, my God.
So that's mommy, also.
That's evil.
Yeah, that was mommy.
The devil. Oh, no.
That was Yolanda.
Oh, not Yolanda Hadid.
Not Yolanda Hadid
not
with
that.
Lyme disease.
Oh!
And then our other friend, who is a gay man, said, I don't know if this relates, but queer men only liking muscular body types.
That's a big one. We didn't even get into the intersectionality of body dysmorphia. That is... yeah. That's an episode in and of itself.
And in that case, I think it's so interesting, too. And I guess this goes for, like, queer women, too, but how your body type, like, implies your sexual preference and, like, position.
Say it again.
You know? Like, I think that is so crazy. Because, like, just because you're skinny does not mean you, like, would want to be submissive, and vice versa. You know? So I think that is just, I don't know, whole episode on
I was
going to
say,
but...
we could unpack that one.
But, yeah, thank you for writing in.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Hopefully once this episode goes live and we start posting more regularly once again, we'll be doing more, like, audience involvement shit, because I really like hearing from you guys, and I hope you like hearing from us, because it's been a minute.
We missed you.
Yeah.
No, I've really truly missed this a lot.
Me too.
I'm glad we're back.
I'm happy that we finally managed to get this to work, because I think if this had not worked again, because this has been, I think we've been talking about this every episode of season 2.
No, fully.
If this had fucked up again, I think I would have, like, done something rash.
God willing, this will be the last time that you'll hear us talk about audio equipment. Otherwise, you'll hear it from behind bars. Because Lauren is going to, like, lose her mind.
The next episode of Magnum B.I. will be our conjugal visit.
Hot.
It'll be a shittier microphone somehow pressed up against the speaker.
Yeah.
That on the plexiglass that separates us.
The telephone, the, like, wired telephone.
I'll be missing, like, a finger somehow.
Hey guys, it's Casey and Lauren.
And I am in jail.
True crime, back at it again, babe.
Oh, we're back at season 1.
Yeah,
oh,
full circle.
That will be a hell of a twist. I can't lie.
So where can our listeners get more Magnum B.I?
You can listen to old episodes on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. There's some snippets on our Instagram, the TikTok account, which is still collecting dust.
It exists.
It does.
Yeah.
We have the URL. Or the username.
Whatever.
We have the username.
Yeah.
Saved for a rainy day. But there's not much on there.
No. But our Instagram.
The Instagram's popping off. And I have finally gotten around to uploading almost every single old episode from season 1 onto YouTube.
Woo!
So if you don't have a Spotify or Apple Podcast, you can get your daily dose there.
Get your daily dose of the Magnum B.I.s.
You could also send us an email at
Magnum B.I. pod@gmail.com.
Yes, we would love to hear from you. Good, bad, otherwise. Send us hate mail. We would love that.
Step on us.
Please.
And follow us on LinkedIn at Magnum B.I. pod.
You can check out our professional sources. And Casey's headshot.
Yeah. It goes off.
It does. It does.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for being patient with us. We are so freaking glad to be back.
Amen to that.
We missed you.
And what do you have for us next week, Casey?
Oh, next week. Baby.
Yeah.
I'm going to be talking about something that I simply never stop talking about.
This is true.
It is something that I've devoted, like,
how many years?
2 years of my life now to religiously. It's something I care very much about. I do a lot of research on it. This is what I'm talking about. I am going to be talking about the history of AIDS activism in the 1980s and 1990s, and how it kind of defined a generation and made a complete lasting impact on the ways social movements mobilize today.
I'm so excited.
Ooh.
I love listening to you talk about your research, and I know all the little girlies are gonna love it too.
Thanks, girlies. I'm excited to meet up
It's
with
gonna
you.
be really good.
I'm very excited to talk about it.
Well, I guess that just leaves until next time.
Until next time.
Magnum
B.I.
Bye.